First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Yahweh is who this world ignorantly calls God. Yahushai is who this world ignorantly calls Jesus. Bahashem means in the name. Rakah means spirit, and Qudash means holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Today's video, I wanted to go into how the believers of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach will be hated in this world. Okay, the true believers will be hated and will be looked down upon. And, multiple things inspired this video, but one recently is the fact that if you go on any of these social media sites, you go on YouTube, you go on Instagram, and TikTok specifically, there's a bunch of videos going into the Hebrew Israelites. And a bunch of people talking about Hebrew Israelite this and that, and these guys are false, and, just making a ton of videos. And when you look at, what they're saying, you realize that every single one of their points is not biblically backed. Okay, they're literally spewing nonsense out of their mouth, being emotional, and they can't back up what they're saying. And here it is, you got a brother, GMS South Carolina, that is making a lemonade out of these fools. Right? They be making those TikTok videos giving him lemons, and he's making lemonade. Every single day, the brother's pumping out videos going into how Hebrew Israelite this, right? Making videos about people mocking and scoffing. And he goes to the scriptures and just completely demolishes them. As it says, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but spiritual. Right? Our weapons is this book. Okay? So, with that in mind, one of the scriptures that gives it to you plainly how the believers are going to be looked upon is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5 and verse 1. It says, "Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him, and made no account of his labors." Right? When you go into the context of what this is talking about, this is a prophecy of the Great Awakening. Right? This is going into Revelation chapter 11 and Ezekiel the 37th chapter. Let's pull that up real quick. So in Revelation chapter 11 and verse 11 it says, "And after 3 days and a half the Spirit of life from God entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them." Right? And that Spirit of life entering into them, the them that is talking about there is the nation of Israel. Okay, that were spiritually dead. Right? That's the dead bodies that it talks about. Okay, but there's going to be a certain time period where the knowledge, understanding of the Most High, His Son, and who we are was going to come back to us. And once that happened, we're going to be standing on our feet, symbolically, because we know who we are now. And that's exactly what it's talking about in this chapter. "Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as afflicted him, and made no account of his labors. And great fear fell upon them which saw them." Right, that fear is going to, verse 2, "When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear." Right, so it's talking about the same thing. Okay, and the reason fear is falling upon these people, right, specifically the elites, is because they know the prophecies. They have had their scholars go through, dissect what is written. Okay, they've researched, the prophets themselves. Okay, gone into the breakdowns, and they have an understanding of what is written. And they know that once the Israelites start waking up, that their kingdom is right next out. Okay, that their kingdom is about to fall. So that's why that great, terrible fear is falling upon them. Right, and in Ezekiel 37, where it talks about it, is in verse 9. It says, "Then said he unto me, Prophesy unto the wind, prophesy, son of man, and say to the wind, Thus saith Yahweh, Come from the four winds, O breath, and breathe upon these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and the breath came into them, and they lived and stood up upon their feet, an exceeding great army." Right, and that's the great awakening of the Israelites worldwide. Right, that breath, that breath is, spirit of life is entering into them, and what are they doing? So they stood upon their feet. Okay, they're standing upon their feet. Okay, an exceeding great army, right? Because the nation of Israel, it says, is innumerable, okay, as the sand of the sea. So going back to wisdom of Solomon, that's the context. So in verse 2 it says, when they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they looked for. Right? So they're going to be amazed at the strangeness of our salvation, beyond anything that they can imagine, because they're not expecting so-called UFOs to come down and start beaming up people, right? And that's exactly the way it's written. That's how it's going to take place according to the scriptures, right? It says that literally right after the awakening comes what? Verse 12, same context. And they heard a great voice from heaven saying unto them, come up hither. And they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. Right? So our enemies, okay, all these other nations are going to be looking up like, what the hell? What is going on? As it says, the strangeness of our salvation. And I want to see what that word beheld means. Theorio in the Greek. It means to be a spectator, look at, behold, to view attentively, take a view of, survey, to view mentally, consider. Right? And they're going to be viewing attentively because this is going to be something that they've seen in the movies, to a certain extent. This is going to be something that is just going to be out of this world. Right? Yahweh, the Heavenly Father, talked about how He was going to work a work in our days that even if He told us, we wouldn't be able to believe. So, He said He's going to top what He did in ancient Exodus. This is going to be something that is going to be remembered forever and ever and ever. And this is the end of the movie. Right? The same way we have movies today, and at the end, as part of that climax, the final bang, and the Lord's about to have a massive bang for the end of this movie. Okay, and it starts with America, Babylon the Great, being completely on fire. So, it says, and they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision, and a proverb of reproach. We fools accounted his life madness, and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of God, and his lot is among the saints? And that's the point, is that when people see this, they see specific people getting beamed up. This is the mindset that they're going to have, and this is the mindset they're supposed to have. They're supposed to be in the mindset of, damn, this was that guy that was out there in that corner. Right? We thought his life was madness. We thought he had no honor. Right? We thought he was in derision. A proverb of reproach. Right? Let's see what that means right there. A proverb of reproach. A proverb of reproach generally refers to a saying or quote that expresses blame, shame, or condemnation. It can highlight a specific action or character trait that leads to disgrace. People often use such sayings to teach lessons about behavior and morality, warning against actions that can result in personal or social approach. Right? So, pretty much, like a proverb of reproach would be, oh yeah, those are those guys downtown that, be talking nonsense, wearing those superhero capes. Just mocking. That's a proverb of reproach. And guess what? Good. Let these people hate and be in that wicked ass spirit, because as it says in Romans, I think it's chapter 3 and verse 3, the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Right? And that's actually a second Esdras, I mean. Romans 3 and 3 is, what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the work of God without effect? Or something along those lines. Let's get it. Romans chapter 3 and verse 3 says, for what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect? God forbid. Yea, let God be true, but every man a liar, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. Right? So just because they don't believe doesn't mean that they're going to nullify all the prophecies and everything that is taking place from the Most High. Right? Everything is still going to take place. So let them hate. Everybody comes back in their own lot, and in order for the movie to play, you need a antagonist. You need another side. Because the Most High has a complete balance. Right? You got the good and you got the bad. And just like in any, of these superhero movies or any movie in general, you always have some type of conflict. And the conflict of this story is that the wicked of the earth, being the Edomites, are ruling, and have made the earth a complete abomination, and have pushed the people to a moral just decline, literally spiritual hell. And the that's the conflict. That's the down part. But the up part is that soon Yahushua the Messiah is gonna come back to destroy these Edomites, and he's gonna come back, bring the kingdom, and restore this earth back to its righteous manner. So we're at the last end of this thing, and as the prophecies start unfolding, we're supposed to be getting a more on point, more tight, with our work and our routine, because we're gonna enter times where the only thing that matters is your faith, right? You're not gonna be able to hop on the blue letter Bible like this, watch a YouTube video like this. The only thing that you're gonna have, say, a lot of us might have is the scriptures purely in our minds, right? What are you gonna do when you get thrown in a FEMA camp? You get thrown in prison for your beliefs. You think they're gonna let you have a Bible in there? You think they're gonna let you do whatever you want to do? The answer most likely is no. They're gonna have you chained up, locked up, and just left, to rot. And the only thing you're gonna have is faith. The only thing you're gonna have is all those scriptures that you have ingrained in you, okay? That you can call upon, all the understanding and wisdom that you've gathered in these days, right? Yahweh Shai talked about this, and he went into, the house that was built upon sand and the house that was built upon a rock. This is Matthew chapter 7 and verse 24. It says, "Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock." Right? And what is that talking about? Okay? Building your house upon a rock, okay, is going into building your understanding in Yahweh Shai, right? Because it talks about how Yahweh Shai is that rock, right? He is the cornerstone, okay, of this building. And if you know anything about building houses, you know that everything starts with that cornerstone, and you build from that point off. So he's the building block, and guess what? You have to build upon him, right? You have to seek that knowledge and understanding to build your house. So in this time, we should be building our house, aka spiritual understanding, knowledge, wisdom, okay, every single day upon Yahweh Shai. Okay, not Allah, a Buddha, Krishna, Jesus Christ. No, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. It says, "And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock." Right? True wisdom. "And everyone that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it." Right? So somebody that was following another doctrine, or was not even focused at all, that's a person that built his house upon sand. Right? Sand being likened to something not sturdy, okay, unreliable. Because, yeah, something unsturdy, unreliable. And when that tribulation comes, guess what? It's going to fall. Right? It's inevitable. So, going back to the point, they start building that foundation because this is the only thing that matters. And let these people hate, man. These people are going to hate regardless, and, it's prophesied that they're going to hate, so don't even let it phase you. I'll leave it there. Hopefully this is edifying. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakak, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to you, elect. Shalom.